Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to EIG's fifth in a series of webinars. And our focus today is on AI vision solutions in production warehouse, ERP, Internet of Things, and of course, AI vision. With us today, we have Nilay Parikh from the Arvist. And he comes from us from the great state of Illinois in Chicago, and John Cosgrove, founder and CEO of Atlantic Handling Systems, and he comes from New Jersey. And Dani Kaplan, right downtown New York City, founder of SMC Data. And I'm Jim Vries, founder of Enhance International Group in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Again, please feel free to use the chat in the Q&A. We'll answer questions as quickly as we can throughout the webinar. We also have the poll EV. So please do enter in the poll EV. And it looks like we have a lot of folks from around the world here. So thank you for entering. And it looks like people have found that. That's awesome. We're off and running here. So with that, go straight to the deliverables of today's webinar. Right after we talk about our next webinar, which will be coming up at the end of the month with Gary Marks. And I think Gary's on the phone. Hello, Gary. On the economic development incentives to fuel your company's growth. All these webinars are on the EIG website, Consulting EIG under webinars. We have over 100 webinars up there. Again, our deliverables today. Our first, addressing challenges of integrating AI vision in the production warehouse. We've been talking about this technology for years, and then here comes Nilay and his team, and they have figured it out. So he's going to show you all the really cool areas that you can apply AI vision in your warehouse from a practical perspective, and we'll gain those insights and then understand how those integrate with what John does on IoT and integration of automation systems in the ERP and the WMS. How do we integrate all these things together? We'll talk about that. We'll look at how to optimize your current factory using AI vision, and then when and how to enable this technology. So we're very excited in this webinar, and we'll be covering case studies, and we'll show you some financials at the end of the webinar on how you can justify this investment. With that, John, overview on Atlantic Handling Systems.
Yes, Atlantic Handling Systems, we design, sell, install, and service conveyor systems and storage systems. We provide automation for companies so that they can reach maximum peak efficiency within their warehouse. And we help design those warehouses. And today I'm looking forward to letting you know how we integrate with AI and with Dani with the ERP and WMS. So what it is a total package today.
Thanks. And Nilay?
Absolutely. Hey everyone, Nilay Parikh, founder and CEO at Arvist. At Arvist, we are supercharging warehouse operations for quality control and compliance using existing infrastructure and data. We use computer vision technology. That's the reason why I'm here on this webinar with these great folks. We'll go into the details of how the technology works in a minute. Like Jim said at the start, we are headquartered out of Chicago, Illinois, and we have an excellent team of supply chain and AI experts in our team over here. And we'll go into a few case studies about computer vision technology and how it's being used in warehouses and distribution centers today.
Thanks, Nilay. And Dani?
For 25 years, represent VAI. They are ERP software that has manufacturing, distribution, and food, single database, all integrated with warehouse management, which is very important factor there. Today's reality of inventory shortages and unreliable supply chain industry.
Thanks, Dani. And then just a little bit about EIG. We have over 60 partners in our group now, and we cover people, process, data, technology. And I'm very excited for this webinar, especially of having this combination of three great perspectives of how to automate your production, your warehouse from end to end, and link that. What we all want to do is how do we drive that execution through the strategy through autonomous infrastructure. With that, we'll get right into the agenda. The first is, again, we're going to talk about what are the challenges out there that everybody's been talking about of integrating AI vision into a environment that we're talking about, the production environment. And then we'll get into the state of the state. What is AI vision? What does it look like? And then we'll get into the factors that take into account when applying AI vision. Nilay will be driving that. And then some best practices about how to leverage these three perspectives for your company. And then we'll get into some demos, and we'll have those throughout. Actually, why not just start right off with a demo with Nilay? So Nilay will give us an overview.
Excellent. Yeah. So like I said, we use a lot of the existing infrastructure. Over here, we use security cameras, cell phones, tablets, even your barcode scanners as a way of input into our platform. So video paused. Perfect. And then we connect from a text-based perspective or textual data, right? So your warehouse management systems, ERP platforms, and the combination of this visual and text-based data is what really allows us to drive insights for productivity, quality, and compliance, allowing us to monitor and automate a lot of the steps in your warehouse or DC operations in general. So just looking at a few different use cases over here first, right? Over here at the receiving docks, you can take a simple picture of a pallet, identify the expiry dates of products, but not just that, also when the products are going to reach their destination and when it would be expired, if at all. This over here is an example at a receiving dock again, where the worker can take either 2 pictures or 4 pictures, depending on whether it's a full pallet or a mixed-use pallet, and then identify the count of boxes, seek and compare the data with their WMS, and then also identify if there's any damages, right, from a quality perspective during shipping or receiving to remove any chargeback claims, for example. Another example over here that you're seeing is vehicle capacity utilization or the fill rate, right? How many trucks left your facility at 80% capacity or 70% capacity? How much time did it take to load and unload your goods? What was the turnaround times of the trucks and trailers in your yards? And insights like that, which allows you to better schedule your trucks, but also improve the productivity and throughput of your warehouse, again, on a visual basis. In this example, you're seeing the ability to create different compliance zones. Let's say over here, it's a food and beverage area. You're not supposed to store goods for more than 10 minutes. You can create that rule. Or an example over here, if someone's not supposed to use cell phones in the loading dock area, that's and safety alert, right? And another interesting step after quality or safety is usually the bureaucracy, the paperwork that comes with it, right? So we take a step forward over there, allowing users to actually input the names of people involved in accidents, incidents, or in quality-related stuff. And then our LLM actually looks at the videos and pictures and automatically fills out any regulatory or compliance forms, whether it's OSHA, FDA, quality control, internal processes as well. The idea with Arvist is to use what you already have, whether it's data or infrastructure, and use that to actually take steps towards the automation and help you make your warehouses and DC operations way more smarter than they are.
Nilay, thanks so much for that excellent overview. Very informative. We encourage folks to and ask questions in the chat and start entering into the poll EV. What are your challenges of investing in AI and ERPs and WMS systems and integrating them into your production warehouse? We'll be looking at this at the end of this section, but I just want to show you that we'll be polling throughout. So please do enter into this poll, and we'll revisit as we talk about next what are some of the challenges in indoctrinating AI vision and these technologies. The first is, and what everyone always talks about, is data quality and availability. There's either insufficient data or there's a lack of it. and most of the data often is not in ones and zeros and yes and no's. It's picture images, it's unstructured data as they call it. And so now what we're doing is being able to process that unstructured data in the form of images with AI, but making sure that the noise is taken out and that we have a complete set of data is so important in this. So Nilay, your thoughts on this data quality and availability?
So I think one of the cornerstones, if you will, of any kind of AI or automation systems, and I'll let Dani and John jump in at any point over here as well, because anytime we talk about automation solutions, ERP data management solutions, or even AI solutions now, data is the cornerstone, right? Without good quality data, the results that you're going to see are not going to be to your satisfaction. In 99% of the cases, and Dani and I have spoken about this at length before, is the fact that even in ERP and WMS systems, the 50% of the data is pretty much garbage, right? And because that is very much dependent on human inputs, and humans, when they are working in long shifts, especially in warehousing and logistics environments, they're prone to errors, right? And so this errors then just accumulate over periods of time. A lot of times when we go into implementation of our solutions, our customers would be like, hey, we have tons of data from like last 10 years of operation. Most of it is not useful. And I would love to hear John's thoughts on this as well. And when they come in and do the automation implementation, without having that historic good quality data, how do you predict what kind of automation you're going to require?
It's exactly the same, Nilay. It's exactly the same. What happens is for our automation to reach maximum peak efficiency, we need good data to be able to do that. And it's evident by, we look at who are the most successful people today in supply chain. They're the people who get it right. I mean, we all know who they are, and they continue every day to improve on those things. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And what I've seen now with AI is that this is a rapidly advancing technology. I've done 45 years in this industry, and to tell you the truth, I've never seen anything that's come out this fast. And if you don't have it on your radar, you're going to be left behind.
Dani, your thoughts?
The most important thing is having integrated system. People make a mistake of getting a standalone warehouse software and standalone ERP software. That's create integration issue. And then you have AT&T blame Verizon, Verizon blame T-Mobile, and T-Mobile blame God. And in the meantime, you end up with corrupted data. And that's the source of the issue that result in inaccurate inventory.
Absolutely. So as you can see, all three of these providers are going to provide you insights to be able to collect the right data so you can make the right decisions with that data. And I think that's the key, in the integration of all these three perspectives provides a really good opportunity to finally beat this data bug that we've all been living with all our lives, of not having the right data to make the good decisions in your warehouse and production. So with that, I'll move into a little bit more into this, Nilay.
Absolutely, yeah. And is before jumping onto that, this picture over here that you see on the right, I asked Jim to add it over here. This is a world record for number of Jenga tiles stacked on one single tile, right? Just fun fact: if you don't take anything away from this webinar, at least you have a nice picture. That single tile over here is essentially your data, right? Even if you do not have immediate plans right now for implementing either AI or automation solutions, which you should, by the way, but if you don't have anything immediately planned, at least have plans in place for putting best practices around for collecting data, improving it, have rigorous checks, maybe on a quarterly basis, on what is the quality of the data that you are accumulating, where is it being stored, is it easily accessible in future. these kinds of just housekeeping items itself would be good enough. When you actually go and want to implement AI automation ERP solutions, it would be way more easier than asking some, big, Accenture, Deloitte, some consulting company to come in and clean up the data for you, and then you try to implement any of these technologies.
Great point. Yeah. If you're spending all your time cleaning the data, most likely you won't be able to act upon it. And we all live in a very dynamic, the warehouses are very dynamic, they're seasonal. I often see people take data and make an analysis and then try to apply it in off months or peak months, and always playing with that. Even if you tried to take the full year of data, clean it, it's last year's data, this year's inventory levels are changing at a different rate. Your supply demand is different. You need to move from managing from arrears to managing forward through the use of your data. And that, I think that's what all these systems provide you, that capability.
So Jim, essentially on my end, the automation, the data is the fuel that makes me reach peak efficiency.
Yeah. Well said. Nice. Dani, any closing thoughts on this slide?
Yes, it's essential to have single database software, not separate modules, because in today's reality, you have to know what your net inventory is after you allocate for production and future order. I'll compare it to a checkbook. No matter how much money you have in the bank, the question is how many checks clear the bank. And knowing what the data is after you allocate it for production and future, it's important. If you don't have the information, it's corrupted data, and then you have issue all across the board.
Thanks, Dani. With that, we'll talk about, we already brought this up a little bit on the integration with existing systems and integrating AI solutions in them. I think what used to be very difficult to do in the past was have the ERP, the WMS, the automation systems, and an external system like Nilay's Arvist system. It used to be very difficult, but in today's world, those challenges have been overcome. Nilay, you want to kick us off here?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the biggest reasons, and you hit the nail right over there, one of the biggest reasons why a lot of these solutions did not work in the past is the fact that they were very much siloed, right? I don't know if you guys read about this, I'm missing the name over here, but it was a robotics company which was recently the acqui-hired by Amazon or someone like Amazon over there. And the reason for that company, even after raising close to $500 million, was not able to succeed on a widespread basis was the fact that it is a siloed robotic automation system. Right now, it was great at picking and packing, but then what after that, right? What's the next step that you need to take from picking and packing automation solution to actually loading docks, right? And then further from there to the trucks. And then where does that information grow for the WMS perspective? If you have multiple different sections in the warehouse where it's not an e-commerce fulfillment, picking and packing throughout, and one side is full pallet loads, for example, you might need another robotic system. And if they don't talk to each other, everything doesn't talk to each other, then it's basically a siloed system, which is just increasing your work more than actually trying to reduce and making it more efficient, right? So the ability to integrate with different systems is sort of the paramount, philosophy, if you will, at Arvist. We work with existing infrastructure, security cameras, cell phones, tablets, scanners, just so that they don't have to invest in anything new. And then we go ahead on the other side, talking to automation tools like what John is putting in, or ERP systems like what Dani is putting in, so that there's a comprehensive process that we can give to a customer, right? It's not like something that they buy from us and then they figure out, okay, what do we do now, right? AI is telling us that this product is wrong, but now I have to find someone and hire someone to put that information into that ERP. So it defeats the purpose of creating any automation or any processes over there.
So what we really talk about here with Arvist is the the integration, which I call the architecture. You know, you have to work on this and get it all right so that, you know, and you have a much better chance with AI of getting it right than we do with integration in the past where people were just guessing pretty much a lot of times. So, and that's why some systems would fail. And people were opposed to automating and going fully automated. Today, you know, we can, you know, we talked about the digital twins a couple of weeks ago in a seminar, and, you know, they analyze what the process and what we end up with the AI deliverable. So I think that in itself, when we take the three components that we have here today, Danny's WMS and ERP, you know, my automation, and then we get to AI helping us to achieve maximum productivity.
Nicely said. Danny?
People often make the mistake of buying, who have outdated software or legacy software, buying a standalone warehouse software. And then they open a can of worms, because if you have a broken link, the data is corrupted, and then all the AI in the world will not help you if you don't have clean data.
Thanks, Danny. And there is a question in the chat that I see here. I'll just go ahead and read it. And the question is around, he encountered a warehouse and a maintenance facility, and everything is in a disarray, confusing, all over the place, very hard to find things. When they need to transport the different things out of the warehouse, it was very difficult from a transport device. And how can we help them with Arvist AI? How can you help a disorganized maintenance / warehouse type location? Nilay?
Yeah, so I think you said it over there, right? Like maintenance / warehouse, like a maintenance hangar at an airport facility is essentially a warehouse, right? A manufacturing facility after the production or assembly lines is essentially a warehouse, right? And that's the ability to have tracking, the visibility over where products are. Some of the examples I showed around creating detection of what the objects are on the pallet, right? Comparing that data against, maybe they don't use WMS, they have an airport management system that they use to track their cargo, right? So that can be used over there as well. So vision systems are not limited to just logistics or warehousing operations, but it can be expanded, whether it's on downstream towards the retail sites or upstream towards ports, airports, cargo facilities. In fact, we are currently deployed in one of the East Coast airports maintenance hangar as well, doing exactly the same thing, allowing them remote management of that particular hangar.
So on the automation side, Jim, we do a lot in maintenance facilities for aerospace and aviation. And what happens is, because the hangar is high, we can use the height, and we use what we call a vertical lift, which is a technology that was pretty much developed in Europe. And what it is it has a shuttle that goes up and it extracts trays, but we can go up to 52 foot high, and in a small footprint, a 10-foot by 13-foot footprint on the floor, we can store a great deal of small parts for aviation and whatever they might need. So a lot of aviation companies are going to this new technology, and we can integrate that with AI and with WMS.
Nice. Danny, any closing thoughts?
I've seen it quite often in those kind of issues when people have standalone warehouse management and standalone ERP system and trying to integrate them together, because then you could have broken link and result in corrupted data, and it's very hard to keep track of the components then.
Thanks, Danny. With that, I will hit the ever-pervasive AI cornerstone of data privacy and ethical legal concerns. One of the most controversial areas on AI and vision and privacy. So, Nilay?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine to take this one. This is what we do,
Sure.
and it's definitely a legitimate concern, right? Especially with the stuff that we see on social media and LinkedIn and news articles about how AI is being used or could be used. There's certain bit is true. A lot of it is fear mongering that comes with any new technology as well. As you can see in this picture, this is from our solution. We have the ability to blur out faces, right? And this is not just this is just one of the things that we do to ensure employee privacy. In addition to that, we do not incorporate any kind of facial recognition or identity recognition of employees. The idea with the Arvist software is to improve productivity, throughput, quality of the facilities, not to be a big brother-esque software that, hey, is someone taking a smoke break, which is more than 5 minutes, right? But having said that, there is definitely a possibility of using the technology in that way. So it really becomes a couple of things over there, right? One is just standardization that comes from government bodies or AI regulatory bodies, and also the ethical standards which a company sets, right? We have always decided from the start that we wouldn't be going into that direction. We want to work with the warehouse workers who are actually going to be using our software. And that makes it important to ensure that we have that privacy piece taken care of. Now, the second piece, which is also important and not talked about, is the bias that comes into the AI systems itself. And that is, let's say we take all our data from the Chicago area, and we train our AI models for that. It may not work very well in Southeast Asia or in South Africa or Brazil, right? There has to be a diversity of data that we collect. This is not just from human standpoint, but the facilities, how they operate, right? The forklift colors might be different in different regions. The wall colors might be different in different regions, right? So all of this, having that diversity of data is really important when we build out these AI models, just so that we have better consistency across the world. And inherently, when you have that diversity of data, the system becomes fair, right? And that it becomes important. There is the rate of diminishing returns in AI accuracy. You can keep on feeding more and more data to improve the models. At some point, it reaches that 90%, 95%, 98%. It becomes very hard to go above that, right? You can't just throw in more data. At that point, you need to diversify your data to improve that accuracy, right? And that's a really important point that a lot of these AI companies are not taking in mind, right? You can train some videos of YouTube and run and show analytics. It always works, right? You're looking at the same thing. But when you're looking at new things every single minute, then it becomes a bigger challenge.
Thanks, Nilay. John, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Nilay is the expert on all of that. He's supplying the data to us, and he understands the laws. And I know everyone has a big fear about what's happening with AI, that it could be used. It's almost like the internet. It's 90% used for good and 10%, but we're gonna have to work our way through it through the years. And I'm pretty sure, based on what I see and the development of it, we're gonna work our way through it.
There is a question in here from Andre asking, how do you comply with individual countries' data privacy, data residency, and data sovereignty laws? How have you been dealing with that?
So yeah, that's a good question. Most of these laws are derived from each other. They're not very different from each other, to be honest. GDPR laws are, of course, the most stringent when it comes to data privacy and data sovereignty. So if we comply with GDPR, we comply with a lot of the other rules and regulations. In the United States, California has AI regulations which are coming out, which are the strictest. And it's not like we would create different systems for different states or different countries. So we try to adhere just like you would to safety standards, right? For any your manufacturing, you just adhere to the highest compliance so that everything else falls into compliance as well.
Thanks, Nilay. Anything else on this? We good? Okay. So scalability and flexibility, of course, AI solutions need to be scalable to handle varying loads and adaptable. Of course, if you have a make to stock versus a engineer to order business, the requirements are going to be much different depending on the manufacturing and so forth. But how do you scale the AI technology and all the different technologies with the customer? John, you want to kick us off here?
Yeah, I think it's what you just said, are we in a production where we're producing orders for that have come in, or are we mass producing for distribution? So the fact that AI can get us to a place where we can do that so much more efficiently. And I think Nilay has opened my eyes to that. I'd like to hear him comment a little bit more about that.
Back to you, Nilay.
Absolutely. I agree, right? So one of the things when you go in and deploy a data management system, ERP system, WMS system, let's say you're starting off a new warehousing operation, a new 3PL, right? And you probably have 500 orders. So you wouldn't go with the biggest and the best system out there. You would probably go with something which is small enough to satisfy maybe not 500, but up to 5,000 orders, right? And once you hit that mark in, let's say, 6 months, then you look for another solution. That is a little bit of tedious task. When it comes to automation or AI, the benefit is that you can start off small and you can use the same system to actually continue to improve as your operations grow, right? So in our case, we could start with 20 cameras for a small warehouse, and you could just add another 80 cameras when you go to, let's say, a 500,000 square feet warehouse instead of a 100,000 square feet warehouse. And same with John's operation, right? You can start with one automation line and then add 9 others as you grow. That makes it way more modular.
I think that's what we say for all three of these things that we do. When we open up a new warehouse, people ask me, should we go with a new warehouse management system and go with automation? If you take all three things and you try to do it at once on a large scale, you could be asking for some trouble. You need to integrate these systems. You might take a certain sector. It might be returns. It might be shipping. It might be the loading dock. Whatever it is, you want to start so that your employees. Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Here. Oh, sorry. Okay. You want to start so your employees can get used to it, because one of the things about all of this, when we bring automation and people go, oh, we're going to eliminate a lot of people, we still need people. We still need people to run these systems and to keep the orders flowing. So I think that's very important for people to realize that, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew with the first implementation of anything.
Dani, your thoughts?
Integration is a major issue that you cannot avoid, because without having accurate integration, you end up with corrupted data, and that requires a lot of cleaning, trying to get, and you never really can get corrupted data 100%. And then all the AI in the world will not help you with corrupted data.
Yeah, I think what I liked what you guys said is the crawl, walk, run approach of finding an area. I liked having the VAI system, Dani's system, as that infrastructure that you can build onto and scale with, and has that flexibility to bring in the IoT from Nilay's system. So having that ERP and WMS that's integrated, that can talk to the conveyors, can talk to the AI vision system, can help bring all that data together, which we'll see in a few slides. That to me is what's very exciting about these three packages and bringing these three offerings together, because of their integration capabilities, and to help the customer not only increase the visibility, but turn that into actions, and being able to see the results of that, and then feeding it back, and then driving your new opportunities. So that's what's very exciting for me. With that, I'm going to skip over cost and ROI, not because I don't think it's important. Of course, it's very important. We'll be covering this at the end of the webinar. So with the challenges, we didn't get too many challenges in here. Please feel free to enter in here. What are some of the challenges that you see? Maybe Nilay, maybe you can share with us some of the challenges that you've seen in indoctrinating AI vision systems over the years, and and how to overcome them.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenge that we have seen or encountered in the past, I think I would go with two. One is something that we already discussed, is the availability of data and good quality data. So we have to go in and try to figure out new ways. How can we procure the data, right? How do we train the workers to make sure that the inputs into their WMS and ERP systems are always correct or consistent, for example. And the second one is more of a more subjective, right? It's more around just the perception of implementing technology, right? And it comes down to not being problem aware, but being solution aware, right? Because everyone is aware about their problems in their warehouses. They just don't know how they can solve it in a cost-effective and easy manner. So there's a little bit of an education component to it, and that's what we're doing in this webinar as well. But in general, getting people to become aware of AI solutions, which do not take year, 2 years to implement. It's not an enterprise-wide solution like an SAP. It's an important education piece to it.
John, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, one of the things, technology is moving so rapidly. It's not only AI or on Danny's side, the WMS, on the automation side, driverless fork trucks, AMRs to move things around, automated guided vehicles, all of these things that are the technology is driving. And, the perfect solution to that is to find out more about those things and what we talked about ROI and put it on your radar because it's coming, and it's going to be here, I think, a lot quicker than people realize. The European influence right now in material handling is very, very strong because in Europe, they have a lot of the challenges that we are now facing, worker shortage, high wages, things like that. People get a lot of time off. So I think more and more you're seeing, in the United States, at least, that European type of automation coming in, more and more automation.
Danny, your thoughts?
The main issue I see is be able to use a system. People often buy system that more than they can chew, and then it create integration issues. Because if you don't have a system that's simple enough to use it, then they end up with not using it right or creating errors.
Thanks, Danny. And we just got a question in the chat. Can you track adherence to HSE standards and regulations, Nilay?
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely do that. One of the features that you saw around creating compliance regions, you can track whether people are wearing the correct personal protective equipment for different areas, near misses and collisions between forklifts, or even robotic movers and humans or your other equipment. Objects lying in walking pathways, or your pallets blocking fire exits, things like that can be really easily done with our solution. I see
Thanks.
another question about how many users can be enabled with Arvist. There's no users, there's no seats, it's nothing which restricts you like per person subscription. It is facility-wide subscription. So it has to be again a comprehensive approach to automating your facilities. So we do not go per seat at all.
Thank you. And keep the questions coming, but we're going to move on and we'll come back to the questions in just a minute. We just, 1 second. So in the next section, we're going to look at what the state of the state is. And just at a high level, AI vision is about a $26 billion industry, growing at about a 22% compounded annual growth CAGR. And IoT, Internet of Things, is a $275 billion business at 25% CAGR. ERPs, that been around for a while, is a $50 billion business, growing at 8%. And WMS is at 783 million, at growing at about a 20% CAGR. So these are all high growth areas that we're talking about that I think are very unique offering that we have here, combining the forces here. So again, just to reacquaint everybody with the WMS ERP, I think everyone knows the different components and of a WMS and warehouse control system, TMS, and how everything integrates. It's bringing in the AI vision and the automation into this. Dani, any additional thoughts on this?
Integration is a major issue because if you don't have the right integration, you're asking for headache. Having a standalone warehouse and a standalone ERP create a headache. You must have an integrated system that have it all in one piece, so you don't have broken links. Broken links create inaccurate data, which affect the AI, affect the warehouse, affects everything.
Thanks, Dani. And that leads perfectly into Nilay talking about how he integrates. Nilay?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you just take a look at, or if you just remember the picture from the previous slide, right? So you have your processes, you have your softwares. Think about it in a 2D layer, and then our AI sits right on top of it, right? It pulls in the data from your WMS, your ERP, even if you're using YMS and TMS systems, you can pull that information in. In addition to that, we are bringing in the data from your vision modules, right? Whether it's security cameras, cell phones, tablets. Why are we doing that, right? We talked about it. The quality of data in these systems may not be accurate enough. So augmenting it with what we are actually seeing creates a flawless, in most cases, flawless system, right? We are filling in the gaps that we were seeing in just your data management systems with what we are actually seeing on the floor now. So we take that data in, bring it into our Arvist system. It can be deployed completely on-site, on-prem, so that none of the data leaves your facility, or it can be a hybrid approach of on-prem and cloud, depending on what your facility requirements are. Someone had asked questions about local data compliance, so that plays over there as well. And then the third step is the results and output. Right? There's multiple ways of getting outputs from the system. If it's safety and compliance issues or even quality control issues, it goes out as text message alerts, email alerts, or even dashboard-based alerts. You, of course, have a dashboard. We wouldn't be a software company if we didn't have one with all your analytics and colorful graphs, which you can use as reporting tools, further sending it up the stream to your management if required as well. But then also helping you, automate steps with manual inputs, right? Wherever there are manual inputs into your WMS or ERP systems, we are trying to automate those steps as well. Again, going back to Dani's point earlier about having that integrated system, which makes sure that the data that is coming into their ERP is good quality, right? Pun intended over there. So because we have good quality data, because we are actually seeing it, our AI is looking at it, and then we are automating the input. So there's no human interaction involved where there's chances of errors go up. That's really how our system works over here.
Thanks, Nilay. You might want to look in the chat here. There's a few questions here that you might want to get through. How do you deal with existence of robotic warehouses where the products are not visible to the Arvist vision system?
It's not a magic system. We cannot detect what we cannot see. So it has to be visible in one form or the other. If the question is about if there's semi-automation or robotics moving stuff around in the facility, yes, we do work with that, whether it's around the compliance issues or after the products from your robot have gone into a particular area. Maybe it's a staging area, maybe it's a loading dock area. You pick it up from there on.
John, do you have your thoughts there?
Well, yeah, I think, that's where the WMS comes in. The WMS can serve as a locator system to, to the robotic picker and get it to the place that it needs to pick at least, or take it to a place like Nilay just said, you can take it to a place and pick it from there, but it'll get you to the system. Dani's system has a locator system and it'll bring you to it.
Excellent. Another question here. What aspects of the product can you help with adherence to environmental goals?
So one example would be around the yard management stuff that I showed you earlier, where we are talking about fill rates or how many trucks left at 80% capacity utilization, right? That not only flows into what I said in the demo about scheduling and improving throughput of your facility, but it also goes into your sustainability metrics, right? If you are able to reduce, let's say you have 100 trucks coming into your warehouse every single day. Now, with your fill rate detections, now if we are able to say 70% of them left below 100% capacity, you don't need 100 trucks. Maybe you could go get away with 80 trucks now. So in a way, you are actually taking actionable steps instead of just some hypothetical sustainable, UN metrics. You're actually taking productive steps to reduce the number of trucks on the road from your warehouse. Right? That is more important, in my opinion, than just some, random sustainability metric.
Thanks, Nilay. And we got another question. Is it possible to validate the AI identification?
I'm not quite sure what that question means.
I'm not sure what it means either.
Yeah.
Maybe they can follow up with another question. Assuming that is also integrates with a WLM.
Can you expand on WLM, whoever asked the question?
Yeah, Andre, sorry. How do you handle the people component, winning them over the change management,
Yeah, change management is a very important component to deploying systems. In a lot of cases, the perception is that AI is automating jobs, but it is rarely the case. At least at this time, it is rarely the case, right? And the reason for that is go into a warehouse and ask them how many open positions do you have on your warehouse floor. It's more likely more than one. Right. In most cases, the warehouse workers who are already there are really stressed out, and they are, overstretched just fulfilling their duties. E-commerce fulfillment and just in general, the warehouse fulfillment has increased and continues to increase. So that workload is going to go up. Your normal job, I'll give an example for United States. You can go to Target and have a job for $20 an hour. If you had that option, why would you go to a warehouse and break your back doing the same and earn the same money, right? And that is why how we position AI and how we actually do it is we are augmenting the workforce, right? The same worker can now do stuff worth like 2 shifts, maybe even 3 shifts. Instead of replacing worker, they are able to actually do their jobs in a much better and much efficient manner. And for the owners, we are just helping them actually not go out and try to hire those people because they're not able to anyway. It's one of the hardest markets or hardest industries to hire people in.
And Jim, on the automation side, the integration, a lot of times employees worry that, it's going to eliminate people within the warehouse and workers. But most times what it does is it's ergonomic. We have people that are lifting cases. Instead of lifting cases, we put a lift in and we help them to streamline, these hard to do tasks that oftentimes, create back problems and so on and so forth, workman's comp and downtime. So, a lot of times in the beginning when we do integration, people resist, but then when they see that it doesn't affect the headcount that much, but what it really does is it helps them to be more efficient and safer, and it's a much better work environment.
And I would just add to that, John, how many people have enough people in their warehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen a warehouse overstaffed, not recently anyways.
Especially today.
Yeah,
today,
especially today. We don't have enough people for the warehouses.
Right.
So that should not be a concern for our folks. With that, I think we're just going to move on. We could ask questions. We're going to hold off on the questions until a little bit later in the webinar because we're 10 minutes to the hour. With that, some of the factors to take into account. Nilay, this might answer a number of questions. So why don't we just go ahead and go through this?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think I'll just walk you through some of the actual use cases over here itself, right? So I talked about that expiry date detection that we saw in the demo. One of the ways, the actual use case, one of our customers is saving about $30,000 by doing damage detection right at the loading docks. Let me tell you how. right? So over here, when the products were coming in at the loading dock, the warehouse workers are incentivized to unload the trucks as fast as possible, and they are doing their job, right? So when they unload the truck, put up the pallets into their racks and aisle, and they sign the bill of lading, warehouse or distribution center now owns the product. They cannot do a chargeback. They cannot claim to their suppliers that, hey, we got a damaged product 2 days later. When you have a system which detects damages right at that loading dock before you sign the bill of lading, you can save a lot of costs over there. So that's one way, how you can improve quality control, comparing the quantity that came in, and then also comparing that data with ERP is another important aspect. Doing cycle counts at staging areas. In one case, we have been able to reduce their cycle count times from 2 hours to about 10 minutes in a single day, where a worker can just go around, take pictures. It does the count for them. And we did like a little bit of a social experiment over there where we asked 4 of their managers and executives to do a count of the pallets in a rack. And all 4 of them got different counts, right? It's just a mundane task, which is very hard for any human brain to focus on because you're just counting boxes, which look very similar. This system can do that flawlessly and repeatedly over time, again and again. We can go to the next one over here, Jim. Examples on safety and compliance. Some people were asking around compliance with HSE regulations. So that's an example over here with PPE compliance, creating hazardous zones, right? What do I mean by that? And the forklift collision and near misses go into that as well. Yes, when you have an accident, you definitely know, there's the loud bang, there's the, a lot of sensors on forklifts these days as well. So you get alerts. What's important is to identify the near misses, right? Because near misses can give you examples of where chances of accidents are highest in your facility. That is the only way you can actually prevent it from happening in future, whether it's using that data to train the forklift drivers, whether it's creating slow zones in facilities, or even separating out the walking pathways from forklift pathways, right? Taking steps like that proactively can prevent these accidents from happening completely. And finally, on the third one, around yard and docks, right? We talked about vehicle capacity utilization, how that goes and flows into your sustainability metrics, identifying the fill rates. The turnaround time of the trucks is really important to understand, right? How many resources were used to load and unload your goods? How much time did it take to load up your truck? Why was there a discrepancy in loading dock 10, where it took 50 minutes to unload versus 25, where it took 2 hours to unload? Imagine yourself as a warehouse manager, right, who's trying to schedule trucks and trying to improve throughput in your facility. If you have that level of discrepancy, how do you even schedule a truck, right? Do you know whether you should schedule something for 2 hours or 50 minutes? Having that real-time visibility around the loading docks really improves that kind of scheduling and throughput as well. And one question which often comes up, I haven't seen it in the chat yet, it probably is there, is the implementation timeline, right? I can guarantee that's the biggest hesitation when it comes to implementing AI systems is the perception that it might take 6 months, a year to go about it. We have gone in and done an installation and deployment in as less than 4 weeks. This includes integrations with ERP systems. This includes integrations with automation systems. And so that makes it way more user-friendly, if you will, to implement and try out technology like this.
Thanks. There is a question here, which I think is pretty pertinent, where they have in the food and beverage area, where they have a lot of different meats and lots of different codes, but it's not managed very consistently. How can Arvist help in that type of situation?
Yeah, we would have to look at the actual products and your actual warehouse operations, but in general, food and beverage and pharma product movement is our biggest, customer ICP or traction point. Couple of reasons for that. Obviously, food and beverage has a lot of compliance issues and quality issues, so you need to make sure about that. We definitely work in a lot of food companies. One example I want to give of how a customer is using is identifying how long the pallets were there with with meat products outside of the freezer zones, right? Let's say your chicken breasts over here on a pallet are at the loading dock, but they're not ready to be loaded. The warehouse or the forklift driver did his job, right? He brought the products from the freezer. Now they're just standing. It's still refrigerated temperature control zone, but it's not frozen anymore. These products have the highest chance of getting spoiled when they reach their final destination, the retail stores or supermarkets. And so we identify how long were they there for and can give an alert that, hey, it's been over 20 minutes. No one has picked up this load. Take a look. Right? That kind of, again, automation improves the quality of the product itself.
Thanks, Nilay. With that, we just move on to this. So we have John kick this off.
Yeah, talk about automation, what we, this group of seminars that we've put together, we've talked about the finances, we've talked about the real estate. And what really it comes down to is that the cost of real estate today, what we need to do with automation and with the space utilization is to help you use the square footage you have now to get you to the point of where you have great utilization in a smaller space and it costs you less, because we all know that commercial real estate today has skyrocketed, and people who are out there looking at new buildings are saying to themselves, on a greenfield, it's a lot of money, and if you use the height efficiently, you can do more. And we maximize storage by taking a look at, your fork truck aisles, how you're doing things, the height you're using, so on and so forth. And we get full optimization of your flow by doing that with conveyors and so on and so forth.
Dani, I think you're next.
I can't stress enough how important is the integration. People make the mistakes often. They're thinking the buying warehouse management standalone will resolve the issue of today's supply chain, which is a very wrong thinking, because you have multiple vendor integration issues, pointing data, and the end is the data is not accurate, which affect the warehouse, affect AI, affect the inventory level, and affects everything. Having one-stop shopping is the most important thing today market.
Awesome. Yeah. And final step, of course, if you have the automation in place, if you have a good ERP WMS system in place, then you can optimize it and improve it, right? And that's where we come in with Arvist. We talked about safety, quality, yard. The perfect order rate, or the POR, is essentially the metric that you should be focused on as a warehouse or a distribution operator. No one is going to be at 100%, but as close as you can be to that 100%, that's basically your revenue. Right. If you are at 100%, you're making 100% of your revenue.
Thanks, Nilay. So with that, we just want to cover the financial piece of this before we close out today, going through left to right, just like we just did. John?
Yeah, we can, if we make you more efficient, we can reduce your labor costs by, almost 30%, increase productivity, and of course, accuracy. We talked about before, the people that are driving the supply chain today, and we all know who they are, they get it right. And we have people today, I know my wife's a consumer. If she doesn't get a product in a day after she orders it, she's looking online to track it to see where it is. So, the people who are going to survive in this new environment, you have to pick orders correctly, make sure they're accurate, have a high throughput to get them to the customer, and you're going to be successful then. And of course, we talked about space utilization because of the current price of real estate and interest rates and so on and so forth. So I think that all those things combined can give you a good return on investment.
Dani?
One of the main issues that distributors are facing today is the chargeback. It's a fancy word that the department store use. You ship the inventory late, they return it to you, you get penalized, you have an extra inventory in warehouse space issue, and the banks are reluctant to lend you money. Having excellent inventory control is essential today, because if you don't have the good control, you end up with production disruption, order cancellation, and then going for shortage inventory to excess inventory because you got return. So having the integrating system, ERP with the warehouse, with the web, with the financial is essential.
Yeah, and I think to wrap it up on our side, like I said again, it's not just your wife, John. If I'm not just tracking the products, but if I get the wrong products, I'm even more pissed off. So and that's just the nature, right? Like we have to accept that that's the new fact. People expect products, the right products, and this is not just the end consumer, but even the retail stores or the next warehouse in your supply chain. Everyone expects the correct products in time every single time, right? And getting that perfect order rate up to 100% comes with having a good safety process. It comes with having good quality control with a good throughput. And those are the kinds of savings that we are trying to drive for warehouses and DCs in general.
Thanks, Nilay. With that, I'll add one more question here on how do you train your AI models to recognize labels, cardboard, text, and product patterns?
I would have to shoot you if I tell you how we do that.
That's the secret.
That's our technology. So
Yeah.
reach out to us. We are happy to talk more about it in details.
Yeah. Can you also monitor real-time location of moving elements?
Moving elements like forklifts or robots, yes. Moving pallets as well. It's an interesting one. We would have to dig into that use case, but in general, yes, we can do that tracking.
And then another one on how to get the warehouse team fully adapted to the new system. What are some of the steps that you take to make that change happen?
Usually we run pilots with customers. You don't have to go out and deploy our system across your facility or across your facilities. You take a subsection, maybe 2 loading docks, 5 cameras, and then we can actually train the people on how it's being used. What are the actual time savings? Are you actually getting value out of the product or not? If so, then it converts to production, but that is the time we use to train employees on how to use it. And again, going back to Dani and John's point about having that integrated systems, the idea is to have as little new processes in place as possible, right? Just continuing what you're already doing, just faster.
Thanks, Nilay. With that, I think what we're going to do is the case studies, we're going to leave that for homework for the team.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty well written out here on, but there's a lot of different opportunities, and encourage you to reach out to Arvist and Nilay and his team on different applications. It's not just one application, but multiple applications to serve those places in your warehouse that that you've neglected over the years because you didn't have a way of addressing them. So if I said that right, Nilay?
Absolutely.
So with that, we're going to close it out. We hope that you enjoyed the webinar. We really loved all the questions. We really appreciate you writing them in. If we didn't answer your questions, please feel free to write us after this, and we'll directly to any of the team, or all of the team is fine. And we'd love to hear from you. And with that, again, we will be having a webinar at the end of this month with Gary Marks on the site selection and economic development incentives to fuel your company's growth. And as you can see, these webinars are all set to help you slowly transform step-by-step, walk, run to transform your warehouse. And with that, I would ask John, any closing comments?
Yeah, I think this was a great discussion. I want to thank all the panelists. And I want to just put a little, if you're in the New York or New Jersey area, we are having a seminar trade show on Monday, September 23rd. And everyone who's on here will be there. Nilay is going to be one of our guest speakers, so you're more than welcome. Just contact me, Jay Cosgrove at atlantichandling.com, and we'd be glad to get you registered, and you can come hear about a little bit more about AI.
Thanks, John. Danny?
Yes, I would like to thank everybody for all the questions. It always makes a better seminar that when people are engaged, which tell us we have done a good job presenting the product on multiple level.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I would echo both of my fellow panelists' points over here. Thank you, everyone, for very insightful questions. One closing thought: do not turn a blind eye to technology. It's not like if you turn a blind eye, it's going away. Blockbuster did that when Netflix was coming around, right? The change is the important piece over here, right? Forget the technology, right? Think about solutions that you need to develop and deploy for yourself or for your customers. And all of us are here to help with that change. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you, and thank you, esteemed panelists, John, Danny, and Nilay. Really appreciate the time and effort to put into this webinar, and really appreciate the participant, all your questions, and continue those questions. We love to see them, and we hope that you got something out of this webinar and showing how AI can be friendly. It doesn't have to be scary. Automation doesn't have to be scary. And ERPs and WMSs don't have to be scary. I think there's too many times when these are like nebulous black boxes, and we really want to democratize all of this to make it easy for you to implement, to make your day easier every day. Thanks so much, and have a great day.